Hey, good evening, kids. We're here for your Bible lesson. You got Steve.
What's up?
You got me. And we're going to start it off. But you remember how we do it? We got to do the unit verse. And guess what tonight is? The same. Week verse, unit verse,
That's
the same.
amazing.
Steve pointed it out to me as I was looking it up. I was like, ooh, all right, look at there. So it comes from Deuteronomy 30:20. It's love the Lord your God, obey Him, and remain faithful to Him. Love your God, obey Him, and remain faithful to Him. It doesn't say sometimes. It doesn't say when you feel like it. It's always obey Him. Always.
What's the weekly verse?
It's the same. The weekly verse is Deuteronomy 30:20.
That's amazing.
Amazing, isn't it? It was simple for us. Steve figured it out. So
I saw the same numbers.
the numbers give it away every time. So that's it. It's Deuteronomy 30:20. It's our unit verse. We'll continue to say that over and over and over. And tonight it was our weekly verse. So we'll wait while you say it. All right, good job.
Good, very good, beautiful.
I heard everybody. All right, woo! So tonight we're going to be talking about Joshua and Jericho. No, that's not two people. No, Joshua is a person. Jericho is a city.
What?
Yeah. So I'm kind of imagining Jericho may be like Birmingham. You ever been to Birmingham? It's big. You go over a hill on I-20 and all you see from miles upon miles upon miles upon miles is Birmingham.
Upon miles?
Upon miles.
That's
a long ways. So Jericho is the city and Joshua is the person that conquered that city. So Steve's going to read our lesson and then we're going to review it.
Joshua, person, Jericho, city.
Correct.
Joshua, person, Jericho, city. Okay, I
All
got
right, got it.
The Israelites are finally in the Promised Land. One of the first cities they saw was Jericho.
City.
The people of Jericho had closed their city gates tightly so that no one could come in or go out. A thick, heavy wall surrounded Jericho. The wall was guarded. No one entered the city and no one left. God told Joshua, person, I have given Jericho, city, its king, and its army to you. March around the city with the soldiers. Do that one time each day for 6 days. 7 priests should carry ram's horn trumpets as they walk in front of the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was a gold-covered box that contained the stone tablets and with the 10 Commandments and some other important things. God continued, on the 7th day, march around the city 7 times while the priests blow their trumpets. Then shout a mighty shout. The wall will fall and the people can go into the city. Joshua explained the plan to the people. He did as God commanded and placed 7 priests and 7 trumpets in front of the ark. Some of the soldiers marched in front of the priest. The others came behind the ark. Joshua said, do not say a word until I say, shout. Each day for 6 days, the priests blew their trumpets while their soldiers marched quietly one time around Jericho. Then they all returned to their camp early on the 7th day. The priests and soldiers marched around the city 7 times. After the 7th time, the priests blew their horns and Joshua ordered, shout, the Lord has given you the city. The soldiers gave a great shout when they heard the trumpets, and the wall fell down. The soldiers moved into the city and captured it, just as God has commanded.
Why do you ask questions? To solve mysteries, to discover what to do next? Good questions help us find the truth and direction. Let's approach this Bible story with questions to learn what God is teaching us and what we should do. The people of Jericho proved to be familiar foe as the Israelites conquered Canaan. Inhabitants reinforced the city because they saw the Israelites conquer other cities. Did the inhabitants of Jericho, yeah, that's it. Did did they know that God was responsible for Israel's victories, or what did they know? So you take Birmingham, you're driving on I-20 and you cross on top of that hill and you see a big wall. You see a big gate all around big Birmingham. You can't get in and the people inside of it can't get out. So why did the people of Jericho do this? Did they watch Joshua and his men march through the promised land and conquer the rest of the cities? And they said, oh, we've got to protect ourselves. So they built these walls. God presented an unusual battle plan. Was this because no other city had been this fortified? Was it because the Israelites had so many victories that were trusting in their own power? Or what? We don't know. God instructed the Israelites to walk around the city with warriors for 6 days. 6 days. What might God have ordered them to walk so many times? Why would God order them to walk so many times?
So they get their steps in.
Steps. You got to have steps. That's right. Was it to intimidate the inhabitants? Was it to confuse, to distract, or what? So they walked around 6 days. 6 days, one time per day. The only thing you heard out of everybody, there was a lot of warriors. They were carrying swords, shields, whatever. You only heard the sound of the trumpets that was in front of the ark. The ark contained the 10 Commandments and important stuff. So the priests with their trumpets, they were in front. I hope they knew how to play trumpets, because I heard my sons practice when they did. Oh, it brought some cows to the front door. So I hope these priests knew how to play the trumpets. So the priests would play in front of the ark, but nobody else would talk. I've listened to some kindergarten classes over the past few weeks. They don't stop talking.
Maybe they need one of the horns.
Maybe they do need a horn, you know. So do you talk in class, or do you pay attention to the teacher? What if these warriors didn't obey Joshua and God and talk the whole entire time? I mean, can you imagine? Hey, what are we watching on TV tonight?
Netflix!
As they walked around the city. On the 7th day, so we walked around one time for 6 days. On the 7th day, God instructed the Israelites to march around the city 7 times. 7 times.
This sounds like a math problem.
It is, you know. 7 times around the city on the 7th day. The priests blew their trumpets and nobody talked. But God told Joshua to tell his men what? He said, when Joshua told his men, he said, when I say shout, you shout out. And then the walls are going to fall and we're going to conquer this city. So they did. After they walked around 7 times, and then there was a prolonged, which means a long blast, from the trumpets of the priest. And Joshua said, shout! And they shouted out. And the walls collapsed and they conquered the city. You know, the questions are, why did God tell them to do that? What was so important about the trumpets playing? What was so important about shouting at that one point in time? We don't know. But it was covered in that story. It was.
It was.
Yeah. Because God said do it. Wow, did you miss that? God said do it. And Joshua obeyed God to the word. One time around for 6 days, 7 times around on the 7th day, and when you say shout, your men's going to shout, the walls will fall, and the city was conquered. They were in the promised land.
Do you think that Joshua had a calculator and had to figure out how many days?
They might have had. We have so many steps on this day, so many on that, divided by...
We're on an average step count of...
We got to do, it's 6 miles long, we've got to do 1 mile in a minute, 2 minutes. I think I need some oxygen.
That's where the records come in.
It is.
The Olympics.
You think Joshua had a 23.6 sticker on the back of his car? So, yeah, I do. So you know what time it is? It is question time. Yay! Game time, game time. What surrounded the city of Jericho? What surrounded the city of Jericho?
A pretty white picket fence.
A picket fence. I was gonna say truck stops.
Truck stop.
Yeah, so you pull your cart off into the exit and stop, but picket fence.
Because of the horns. Brr, brr.
That's it,
Right.
yeah, horns. No,
Your answer's better.
no. The city was surrounded by a thick wall. Remember, they had walls. Nobody in the city, nobody out of the city. So I said gate earlier, but I don't even think they had a gate. If nobody was coming in, nobody going out, I wouldn't have built a gate. They just built a thick wall.
Probably had a drawbridge.
Man, would it be mowed in front of it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The alligators.
What was God's plan for the Israelites to take over Jericho? What was God's plans for the Israelites to take over Jericho?
We're here to take this place.
See, you think they walked and knocked on the wall and said, "We're here to take over"?
They did one lap and, hello, we're going door to door. We're looking for cities.
Could have been selling vacuums too. We don't know. So, but no, the soldiers and priests would march around the city. The wall would fall down. That was God's plan. Told them to march around the city 6 days, and then on the seventh day, you march around and shout, and the walls will fall. On each of the first 6 days, how many times did the army walk around the city?
Oh, that's a math question. Hold
So
on.
you remember you carried the 2 divided by 1.8.
So the answer I came up with is 6 days.
6 days.
So 6 days.
How many times around the city?
437 steps would equal 1 time.
1. That is correct.
It's probably more than 437 steps though.
I didn't think you carried his 2 over there. Right there. You got the right answer. It's 1. For 6 days they walked around the city 1 time. What did Joshua tell the soldiers to say as they marched?
I got this one.
What?
Shh, be very, very quiet.
They did. He did. He said, "Don't say a word as we march around the city." The only thing they heard was the priests playing their ram horn trumpets.
That is a tongue twister.
Yeah, and horn. I don't know. So they said nothing. Be quiet. On the seventh day, what happened after the soldiers and priests marched around Jericho the 7th time? They knocked again on.
We're gonna take your city.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably stopped for a little water. I'd have been tired after 7 times around. But no, what happened? The priests blew their trumpets and everybody shouted and the wall fell down. I mean, this great big thick wall just fell. What did the soldiers do after the wall fell down? They ate Chick-fil-A.
They couldn't knock on the door.
They couldn't knock on the door no more. Well,
This would be a great spot right here for a Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A, put it right there. No, when the walls fell, the soldiers just went into the city and captured it. It was now home of the Israelites. So Joshua conquered Jericho. Remember, Joshua a person, Jericho city. Joshua, I about messed that up, didn't I? Joshua led his army around 6 days, and then on the 7th day they shouted, and the walls crumbled, and they took over Jericho. So that was based on Joshua's chapter 6, verses 1 through 21. Joshua and Jericho. Everybody did great out there in the questions and all that.
Joshua, person, Jericho city. Got it.
That's right. Remember the unit verse and the weekly verse, but you won't know the weekly verse till next week. But
Yeah,
this week
it's the same thing
it's the same
as the unit verse.
That's right,
It's
it is.
amazing.
Yay. So I bid you farewell to next week.
Bye.